And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Great to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Tuesday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Puryear.
And for the next 2 hours, we're right here talking sports and whatever. Like to hear from you on the phone line, which is both text and phone, 417-447-1021. 447-1021. Text line and phone line, they are the same, and indeed, whichever method you prefer, we'd like to hear from you. Starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont, Springfield. Everything you need in the sports line is right there, uniforms included, and restringing. I imagine they'll do that with tennis and golf with the handles and stuff. They just do it all at Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center. Swing Right Golf, South Campbell, at the very lower end of South Campbell, a little bit north of Nixon. Swing Right Golf has everything on the golf line that you want, including that simulator, which, I don't know, I haven't looked at the forecast today. It's still going to be deadly hot.
It actually starts cooling down. It looked like it was about to rain coming out to the west there, excuse me. Yes, light rain this morning, high of 90, so not quite the 98, that we got.
That's
yesterday.
A little better.
Yeah.
And brought to you by Citizens Bank at Rogersville with two routes. That's what they call their branches, routes. One is adjacent to Highland Springs, the other in Rogersville itself. And by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, a couple of left turns, and you're right there at Marshfield Chevrolet. Big show coming up today, as usual.
Yeah. We're kind of again just waiting for football to arrive, and we talk lots of baseball and lots of everything. And by the way, it's high of 77 on Saturday here.
77.
Yeah.
Heck, I'll have to get an overcoat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll freeze to death. Yeah, 86 tomorrow, 84, 84, 77, 83 the rest of the week. So
does it look good. Like when you advance it a little bit more, does it look like it's going to get very hot again?
Back to late next week in the 90s. But, it looks like in the 80s about for the next 7-8 days there. This weather update brought to you by, who we got for weather? Gabby Dyer still does weather around the Ozarks.
Well, she does.
Yeah, we can credit her for that. But I was out in it yesterday, and I'm proud to say I survived. I'm here today.
And now you played in the afternoon, didn't you?
We had a 2:00 shotgun start. Ironically, it was the Cox Health Foundation, so I don't know if they thought they were just going to take patients when we dropped out there or what. I'm kidding. No, they did a great job of having wet towels, cold wet towels, water.
Did everybody make it through?
I think there was only one group that said to heck with it. And I figured out, and I knew this, but 2 to 4 is not the hottest time. It's 4 to 6.
4 to 6, yeah.
And we had a nice little breeze and played with Bucky Buckner, the surgeon at Cox, his son Jake, my son Marcus, and I. And a whole nother story with Bucky I want to tell. But, it's okay for about 2 hours, and there's a breeze when your cart starts going, and, you're up on the hillside there at Highland where the birds used to poop on your statue that's no longer out there now.
And you have to feel sorry for those poor birds. What are they doing now?
They found their spot. I don't know what they're doing now because there's construction going on there. But anyway, had a nice breeze, and all of a sudden about 4:00 it stops. And you're just kind of like trying to hit your shots quicker to get on to the next, get back in the cart and get moving there. But it wasn't bad. They did, Chris Himes is the foundation guy. And I was telling my son this, that if I had 11 years at Drury, if I had named the 3 nicest kids ever to come through Drury, Chris Himes would be on that list.
He is absolutely top notch.
Yeah, and in a perfect role for fundraising there with the Cox Foundation. But, I always find it intriguing to talk to people that are smarter than me, which is pretty much every day. And Bucky Buckner, just, discussions about how much – I bet that he's done more surgeries in this town than just about any surgeon over the years.
Quite likely.
Yeah, and really, but it was just fascinating to hear some of the stuff there.
Does he play golf pretty well?
He plays. Yeah, he doesn't play often, but gosh, he looks like he's about 30 fitness wise. Kind of like you and I. Pretty much. But anyway, his son Jake's a listener every morning to our show too. So shout out there. But anyway, it was a good time for a good cause. Got to see Chris Himes, and they did a great job of keeping people hydrated the whole day.
What would you say the total number of people there?
I think, it was a morning and an afternoon shotgun. And so I think the morning probably had significantly more teams. I think in the afternoon there were maybe another 12, 14 teams probably.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, we got around pretty quick. And I was going to say Highland right now. I don't know that it's been in better shape, Highland Springs Country Club. And you just think about it, and this is about the time coming up, right now in the wheelhouse of the Price Cutter Charity Championship in the past. And I was out there last September for a tournament and saw the aftermath of the latest Corn Ferry Tour event out there. And, greens were dead in spots, fairways had dead spots, everything. Not anything like that yesterday. And you kind of get a feel for why the membership out there was pretty much tired of having the tournament, because they give up their course for a week, which is a big thing for what they pay to be members anyway. There's the prestige factor of hosting a Corn Ferry Tour event, but you lose your course for a week, and then you really lose it for about the next month or so, and the superintendent's got to get back to where it was, because the tour wanted them to have that so shaved down, the greens, the fairways, things like that, to try to make it a little tougher, that they were getting an inferior course every time after, and the tour just left town and went to the next stop.
The interesting factor about it is the tour also, according to the story, wanted them to move the event to earlier in the year.
June, yeah.
And indeed, Highland Springs could not handle something like that. But over and above all that, I really feel like the constituency out there had enough of it. I remember the first year, which was, I think, 1990.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the Ben Hogan Tour came in here. And that was a big deal. Purdy Leslie is the one
Payne
who put
was
that
out there
together.
for that.
Payne Stewart did show up, and he was great. Would not play.
Yeah.
He purposely would not play, said this isn't fair.
I'm not taking money from guys that are trying to. Yeah, I think I'm okay there, basically. But, no, he was Payne. I mean, he did his Payne. Just good old Ozarks boy out there, like he was just you or I, out there. And and I think from what I understand, the move to June was Highland Springs' chance to escape, because it was a chance for them to say, well, we already have June events, we don't have room. And if the tour really wanted to move that, and there was a little stalemate there between the two, that was Highland's chance to say, hey, we're out of this now. And not that it was a bad thing, but you think about it, it'd be like renting your house out for a week.
In a sense.
Yeah. And when you get your house back at the end of the week, of course, now they have cleaning crews that do that. But if you had to go in and pick up the aftermath of it, it's not the course you had the week before. And so I think it was a chance there. And I'd like to see it come back, but the thing I worry about, and we've talked about it with Bill Oakley, is the Corn Ferry going to drop down in stature with this new format for the tour in 2028, where there's going to be basically a champions division, and then what they call it, the challenger, champions and challenger.
The challenger will be equivalent to AAA.
Yeah.
That means Corn Ferry is about a AA tour.
It does. And so your guys that are playing the Corn Ferry obviously want to be on the challenger, because it's going to be bigger purses, it's going to be in bigger markets. And then, but also by the flip side of that is it creates more opportunity for young guys to get out and maybe make the Corn Ferry that wouldn't before, because there'll be some spots open there by the natural, I guess, snowball up effect there and stuff too. But it's amazing, and I'd probably do a lot, maybe too much of it, following Reagan Zabilski with her Epson tour. She missed the cut last week for the first time, but we've not had somebody out there in so long that it's kind of like, okay, it's exciting when we do get somebody, and you look at the guy side of it. I know Kevin Kring, gave it a run there for a while. When do you get Kevin on again? He's just a really good interview and talk about professional golf and his thoughts on it. But, he was as good as we've had in a long time, and he didn't make it.
Payne was the last one,
Yeah.
Payne Stewart, and that was 1999, 2000, somewhere around there before the unfortunate circumstance. But before that, when you go back before that, who was the last one? Probably Horton Smith.
Well, Stan Utley was out there for a little while.
Utley was, but he didn't really have good golfer.
Yeah,
great golfer.
He won an event, but I think it was Chattanooga maybe or something like that. But Stan was, and Stan will tell you this, he's told us when we've had him on, he wasn't long enough and especially in today's game where guys are routinely hitting it 330 and 350, Stan didn't do that. But you're right. I mean, if we go back to, long ways back outside of Payne. And this is a great golf area for producing talent.
Kyle Laffoon,
Yeah.
you could hold him there as in that circumstance. But, yeah, it is a great area. Incidentally, let me comment just a little bit on the course. I was watching the tournament over the weekend, which is the 3M Classic, and it's played at, I think it's TPC Twin Cities, I think is the name of it, but obviously it has something to do with the 3M company.
Yeah.
To watch those guys play. Now, these are all legitimate shots that they take, but on the fairway, when they're using irons, holy smokes, they take up. I can understand where those dead spots come from.
Yeah,
And how many golfers do you have? 150?
Yeah, and you've got their caddies. Well, if they're not riding, so I don't know how it is with these guys now, but maybe the grounds crew goes in and fills them in. But when you're playing now, and you're in a cart, there's routinely a sandbox on the side of your cart with a little shovel, and you're supposed to go fill your divot in with the sand if you're just playing by yourself. But I would guess at night there's just a crew running out there.
It better be.
Because the caddies aren't carrying a sandbox in that bag and everything. But and I know Rob Marsh has said never say never on getting an event here back to the Ozarks. I thought the event Johnny and Kirk Elmquist they had down at
It's great.
down in Hollister Ridgedale was fabulous. I don't know what courses are fit to have a Corn Ferry Tour event other than Highland Springs.
Oh, you know the courses pretty well.
Yeah.
But what do they call the national course down there in Branson?
Ozarks National.
Oh, is that not one of them?
It could be, yeah. You're going to have something that's a little more walkable, and that's probably the most walkable of those courses down
Hilly.
there. Yeah. And some of the other ones, there's the biggest problem, and I think the way they got around it with the old guys was they carted them. They let them use carts because you're going to have to take players from some greens to the next tee if you use some of those courses because it's a winding path uphill in a lot of cases there too. But River Cut would be the closest thing I think after Highland, and Millwood may be a little on the short side.
You don't put Hickory in there.
I don't know that Hickory would welcome it. I mean, if Highland ran it off, Hickory's not going to say, "Come on in, we'll have you" and stuff because it's just a different feel out there. But River Cut, course wise, and that's why you look at the two courses they used for the qualifiers, or they did use Millwood and River Cut, and those are probably the two that are equipped to handle it. Millwood may be a little on the short side for those guys. I think they would. I mean, look at the scores they shoot when they come in for the qualifier
Sure.
and stuff. So I don't know. We're kind of hamstrung by that. Highland was the natural fit, but long story short, I see why now they're not doing it because they want their course and they want it the way it is now.
Incidentally, you mentioned a short time ago, Utley always felt like he was not long enough off the tee.
Yeah.
You should watch some of those golfers at the 3M Classic.
Yeah.
My God, Scheffler played on the final day with Brian Harmon, and now he's a bigger person than Brian Harmon, but he consistently outdrove him by 50 to 60 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, Scheffler unloads when he hits those shots.
He does, and he's on the long end of things. And the thing with it, unlike in other aspects of life, size doesn't matter in golf because Gaige Lewis over at Drury, kid played at Kickapoo and had a great, I think, junior season with Drury Golf this year. He's probably 5'9" and 155 pounds.
It's a big...
And his clubhead speed he generates is phenomenal for that size. And so that's a lot. We saw a guy, Marcus and I were talking yesterday. They had a guy out on number 8 at Highland for this tournament. There was a long drive guy, and I need to look up his name. It wasn't Dan Beaver.
No, not Dan Beaver.
No, it wasn't Beaver. It was a guy from Denver that was there. 6'5", 200, hits it a mile. But, if you put him up against guys with clubhead speed that are a lot smaller, they'll be right there with him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think we did a great job of talking golf and getting nothing done in the first segment here. But
let's take a time out.
Let's take a time out, then we'll actually talk about real sports that happen here in the dead of summer.
Quick break, back in a second. And we thank you very much for being with us on the starting lineup. Let's do the starting five.
Yeah, well, we'll do that. Tell you our guest list, too. Never got to that either. But Corey Riggs is back. He's been off for a couple weeks on a well-deserved vacation overseas. We'll talk to Corey, the voice of Missouri State Athletics, at 7:30. 8 o'clock, Dan Ryder is going to jump on with us, talk about the Springfield Cardinals homestand that is here starting tonight, Wichita in town, 6-game stretch. And then 8:30, T-Bear, Trenton Berry, the RacingDirt.com auto racing guru, our correspondent, telling us all things we don't know about racing, and we'll get his thoughts on Corey Haim, the 24-year-old winning a second race for the year.
And incidentally, not a relative.
Yeah, not to Dennis, not related. Dennis could have claimed him, though, couldn't he? At least Dennis could have claimed him, and nobody would have known,
How are you going to prove it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or prove it not.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's our lineup today. Top stories, again, kind of a slow night last night. The Cubs and Cardinals decided to make it even slower by delaying it almost 2 hours with rain. I'm sitting there, just got home 7 o'clock last night from golf, just feel like I've lost 70 pounds in the sweat. And I'm like, how is it raining in St. Louis? And it was a weird thing that just came from north to south.
Well, and that's in the summertime when you have a dominant high pressure that brings in hot air. It's a circular thing, and the storms, it's so dominant that storms will go right around it. Well, that high ends in St. Louis.
Oh.
That's where it came to an end. Now we're talking atmospherically, and the storms are riding that. It'll happen again today, too, I believe.
I think we found our replacement for Ron Hurst
no,
here. I think we
no.
have. when is Ron's last day, by the way?
14th.
Of August?
August,
okay.
yeah.
How many years?
Well, let's see. I think Hurst came with us in 91 or 92.
Really?
Wow.
There. Okay.
Although I must admit I don't remember.
Should we get him on?
Yeah.
We can have him on. Let's have Ron on that week sometime. Just, we talk about, we always say we talk about sports.
Okay.
Let's have Ron on.
I can ask him.
Because, I was awfully mean to him when you and I were over at the other place starting out. And it was weird because I actually went to work for KY3 for a
and
year
he was there.
I walk in the first day at KY3. I just left Drury. I go through all the security doors. There's a long hallway there, and at the end of the hallway stands Ron Hurst. And it was almost like you could hear that the Western showdown music in the background. And I'm kind of,
you're all ready to draw.
I'm like, oh crap! This is where 15 years of Ron bashing catches up.
Help me out real quick. When you were my intern, who was it? Fred
Miller was there. Yeah. But anyway, the thing about Ron is I poked fun at him all those years. He's very good at his job, takes it very seriously. But I remember later on, he was actually helping me load Ozark's Ozone magazine boxes in my car. A good guy and stuff. So we'll try to get him on that week, see if we can squeeze us in there too. So anyway, Cubs take game 1 of the series 7-3 at Busch Stadium last night. Jumped up 2-0 early. Cardinals got it to 2-1. Alex Bregman hits a home run to get it to 3-1 Cubs, and then from there they took it on for the 7-3
How about Nico Horner?
Nico Horner had 4 hits and four RBIs. Bregman was he's been struggling. I mean, he's been one of those, I guess you could say, free agent flops in terms of the expectations and what they were paying him and what he's actually delivered. He was 0 for 12 his previous 3 games before they sat him down Sunday. And kind of got him snapped out of that, I think, with the home run yesterday. But Horner's one of those guys, too, that kind of comes and goes, gets hot. And all those Cubs, every one of them, you look up and down that order, from Pete Crow Armstrong down to Dansby Swanson, they never sustain over 6 months. They each get hot in about a week or 2 week stretch. And when they're really dangerous is when about 5 of them get hot in the same
which did happen.
Which may be this week,
Well, they had a 10-game winning streak to start the year, and then had a 10-game losing streak. Excuse me, you mentioned Bregman. He had, I think he missed by a triple hitting for the cycle last night.
Yeah, and the, like Dansby Swanson, for example, I think he had 26 RBIs in about a 2 week stretch back in June. Mm-hmm. Well, he had one doubleheader, didn't he? Homer 2 or 3 times and drive in 10 in a doubleheader.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, but they're all like that. Ian Happ is like that. He'll be hot for 2 weeks and then he'll disappear for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Put your math skills to work here. The Cardinals lose the first of a 4-game series. Now the Cardinals still maintain wild card hopes. What else do they have to do in this series? Obviously, win. But what can they do in this series and still maintain hope? Split it?
Yeah, I think they need a split. But, they're back finally to 500, and there was one point, weren't they maybe 9 games
Nine games over,
Yeah,
yes.
it was the high and stuff. And we've talked about it. They're kind of showing they are who we thought they were going to be. And, last night's a perfect example. The bats have kind of cooled. Jordan Walker hasn't come out of blazing out of the home run derby and an all-star game. And guys like Liberatore are pitching like we probably feared they would pitch, just be very mediocre.
How about 3 runs and 8 hits in 3 innings?
Yeah.
Come on.
And so they don't have an ace. Leahy may be their best pitcher right now.
Maybe.
And Palante and guys like that.
I think Palante probably, he's the most consistent.
That McGreevy goes tonight against Colin Ray. You talk about teams that have had pitching woes. The Cubs, basically the 5 guys they counted on, I think 4 of the 5 are out or maybe all 5 now. But I just think, this has probably saved Chaim Bloom some headaches, them kind of settling back into around 500 and kind of showing who they are. Because I think if they'd maintained that 8 or 9, above 500 pace, and we're right there in the thick of things, it looked like they might be the whole year. It might have forced him to do some things that they didn't really want to do.
Yeah,
away from the plane.
I agree with you. He doesn't have that pressure now. I really do think that sometime this week, and it has to be this week, that what's his name? The pitcher.
I would say May and Newton.
Dustin May.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else that anybody would want, short of somebody looking at him and going, hey, we'll give Nolan Gorman a try. We need a power-hitting lefty bat off the bench. What do you want for him? And they might trade like a dozen baseballs or something for Gorman. And they'll throw in Victor Scott, the third, too, and stuff. But the second or third, Victor Scott. Is Victor Scott the second or third?
No, Victor Scott's the third.
Third, yes. I couldn't remember. Somebody's a second out there, and I get them mixed up. But, no, so I just think this is maybe taking some pressure off Bloom and now lets him continue on. And he can say, okay, I've got Dustin May, I've got Lars Nootbaar. What prospects can we get? I also think you're going to see, maybe Joshua Baez and Quinn Matthews come up after those 2 guys are dealt. And then I think Liam Doyle is going to go to Memphis.
You've got to give these guys a promotion. Yeah. Got to, especially Baez. My goodness.
And this Springfield Cardinals team, I mean, it's very talented. Of course, they won the title last year, and I think this team, talent-wise, may be even better.
Well, they're in the lead in the second half, so that's good.
So game 2 tonight, Colin Ray and Michael McGreevy, 6:45 first pitch. Cubs are 60-46. They're just 6 back of the Brewers, so Milwaukee can't really kind of sit back and coast. The Cubs will put some pressure on them there. And Cardinals, as we mentioned, 500 at 53-53. Interesting breakdown home and away for the Cardinals. They are 27-30 at home, 26-23 on the road.
Have a winning record on the road.
Winning record on the road, 3 under 500 at home too. So Royals had a much-needed day off yesterday after playing 7 consecutive 1-run games. They open a 3-game series in Minnesota tonight. 6:40 is the first pitch. It's Seth Lugo and Taj Bradley. Bradley's been really good about the last month and a half. And, he was a guy that Tampa kept giving opportunities to. And he'd look really good, then he'd go out and give up 7 earned runs, and it looks like he's kind of settled in. I think he's probably 25 years old and becoming the ace candidate they thought they were going to get there. But Twins are 3 back of the White Sox in the AL Central, 1 game below 500 and 3 games back. That's going to be a down-to-the-wire Guardians, White Sox, Twins battling back and forth. Listening to the Wiesen guys this morning, I kind of think they're going to deal Tariq Skubal because I think Detroit maybe now is kind of realizing we don't really have all the weapons to get this done. Let's get something for him, but we'll see. And I think the Brewers are a candidate from what I understand because that they've got Miz and some young guys, and they need at least one other hammer like a Skubal. If you go Miz and Skubal, and it's a best of 3, see ya.
Well, interestingly enough, one of those Wiesen guys, it may have been earlier this morning, talking about the possibility that Skubal goes to the Dodgers. He said, hey, you know what's going to happen if that trade does get done. It's conspiracy. The Dodgers are loading up. And he said, if that happens, you're not even going to see anything close to a settlement in December.
No. And that's the other thing is throwing a wrench in this whole deal is nobody wants to pay anybody for 2027, big money, because they may not have a season. So, but the teams that are most equipped farm system to deal for Skubal are the Brewers and the Dodgers, because they're both deep with position player talent all the way down their minor league systems. Philadelphia has been mentioned as a possible Skubal destination, and I don't know why. I mean, if you think Luzardo is going to kind of settle in and be more consistent with Wheeler and Sanchez, there's three, and you don't really need four, do you?
No, but if you're going to be a World Series contender, it would not hurt you at all. Yeah. And case in point is Philadelphia is a good team, but they are not a consistent team. You see what happened to them last night?
No, what'd they do?
Well, they served up as the streak-breaking team for the Miami Marlins. This is interesting, too, because the Marlins had a lead. Philadelphia came back and took the lead late in the game, 7-5.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
And loses it with 3 runs in the last of the 9th inning.
And snapped a 12-game losing streak.
12-game losing streak, right.
So I think Skubal's going somewhere. Of course, that's the beauty of it. It gives us something to talk about the rest of the week. And trade deadline is August 3rd, Monday. I believe 5 p.m. on that.
It's 5 p.m. Central Time.
5 p.m. Central Time. So we mentioned Springfield Cardinals. They're home. They've got a 6-game series with Wichita starting tonight. Dan Ryder going to join us at 8 o'clock to talk about promotions this week. Springfield is 17-10 in the second half, and 2 games ahead now of first half winner Tulsa. Wichita's third at 12-15, 5 games back of the Cardinals going into the week. A very sad and bizarre story involving the Kansas City Chiefs and Eric Bieniemy. The couple's son apparently shot his mother yesterday back home in Virginia. Were you able to dive into the details much on this?
Well, she is in what's called stable condition, but her condition is also serious. The wounds were not of unsubstantial nature, and there were 2 of them. He shot her twice. Now, why? She was able, after the shooting, to call 911. They came out there. The son is 27 years old. What happened, nobody seems to know. But Eric, of course, immediately gets on the plane and gets back there. The Chiefs have said that he will have temporary leave. Now, temporary is very much up for discussion. I would think that he'll be gone for quite a while. This is his son and his wife who are involved in a situation like that. The son is being held without bail. 3 felony charges against him. And she is recovering in the hospital, hopefully recovering. And he's got to be there.
Yeah.
So what does that do to the Chiefs? It takes away their offensive coordinator, number one. Of course, he has assistants and so forth and so on. But the big man is not there. Does it affect them? Scott, certainly it does psychologically.
Can you imagine, and it's a 27-year-old son, can you imagine when you go home to face the aftermath of this? Your son shot your wife. And I don't know emotionally as a father and a husband how you even handle that.
I don't either.
I mean, your first thought with your son is why? What
have you done?
What were you thinking? And you don't know if there were other factors in play here, that made him not thinking at that time or whatever. But I can't imagine that situation and having to go deal with it as a dad and a husband. And trying to figure out how you balance.
And that's why I conjecture that he'll be gone for quite a while, because he has to some kind of a mental conclusion as to what this happened before he even gets back to his profession.
Yeah. And try to focus on the job that's just football.
This is very tough, very tough.
Daniel Jones is a full go. We talked about Patrick being a full go for the Chiefs coming off his injury. Daniel Jones has got the go-ahead. Of course, he had the ruptured Achilles last year. He's a big part of what the Colts hope to do. I do see here, though, that Alec Pierce will start on the PUP list. So what happened to Pierce? That was their big retaining, paid big money to him, and apparently he's done something arguably the best deep threat in the NFL, will begin on the physically unable to perform list. Pierce underwent ankle surgery this offseason and is still recovering.
Oh, still.
So, yeah. Okay. And so Vita Vea, the run stopper for Tampa, wants out. He wants a trade. He's not happy with his contract. We talked yesterday about Jacoby Brissett getting $15 million, which is basically say, hey, here's $3, go to Dollar General. You're our starting quarterback. There's guys, they're paying Kyler Murray more not to play in Arizona than they are paying Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback. And then the last thing before we go to break, I saw here that Ward Manuel, the outgoing Michigan AD at the end of the year, end of the calendar year, will get a $7.1 million going away present and assorted perks from the university after he steps down at the end of the year. What a great country.
Is that all?
Yeah, well, I mean, for an AD, what a great country we live in where you can screw your job up. You can completely mismanage the staff, and hey, here's $7 million on your way out the door to make your life easier.
There is another settlement too that may or may not be on there. Akuba, Coach Mox.
Yeah.
Now, she had a contract dispute with Virginia because she got let go in April for all sorts of internal dissension and so forth and so on. Settled for $1,300,000.
Okay.
You can settle for those.
You can. Well, and that was one of those things where they were trying to say that she violated clause of her contract of ethical behavior or things like that, and her attorneys are saying, no, she didn't. Let's meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
Not have to pay the buyout. So one other story, and we'll talk to Corey about this too when we come back, but I did see a story where the going rate now, if you want to be a competitive NCAA upper-tier basketball program, you better have $10 million available to spend in NIL.
In no money?
In a year, yes. Yeah.
See, this is all wrong.
Yeah.
It does not. Now, I'm a whole lot older than you are and most people, but by the same token, it does not correlate at all with anything that used to be. Used to be was a better system. I do think the athletes should be paid. Yes, I think they should be reimbursed for what they do because they are not student athletes as such. But this is entirely too much.
It's crazy, and we'll talk more about that. Corey Riggs on the other side.
Time out. Back in a second. And we thank you very much for being with us on the starting lineup, brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Swing Right Golf, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. I'm Ed Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And indeed.
Special guest on the line with us is our Tuesday correspondent, talking Missouri State sports. He's the voice of the Bears. He's refreshed and recharged after a vacation overseas. We welcome in Corey Riggs. Corey, good morning.
Buongiorno, boys. How we doing?
And same to you. That's what, didn't you used to say that at the end of sports, bonjour or something like that?
Bonjour, and good sports.
Yeah, you guys can speak that language here. So Corey, kind of give us the highlights of your trip. What were some of the things you'll always remember?
Oh my gosh, guys. Well, one, I mean, we've known one another for a long time. 25 years of my career in sports in Springfield was spent at MediaCom. And it was really kind of neat. In Florence, our former chairman and CEO, Rocco Camiso, bought the soccer team there in Italy, ACF Fiorentina. And it was one of the last things that Rocco did before he passed last year. And got there, got myself a ACF Fiorentina jersey, tried to wear it in Naples, found out that's kind of like wearing a Kansas City Chiefs jersey in Denver. They don't really appreciate that. So that was a lesson learned. But honestly, the best food and the best people you'd ever want to meet. Spent about 5 or 6 days up in Tuscany, rode the bullet train down to the Amalfi Coast, spent another 5 or 6 days there, and celebrating Maggie and I's 25th wedding anniversary. And we will be going back. It won't be during the season. We'll have to find another summer here in the next couple of years, but we will be back. It's an absolute blast to go over there.
Well, congratulations on 25 years. I think we've got ours coming up next year. I probably ought to plan something similar, for that. I think they like that. I always wondered about pizza, and Italian food. When we go to Olive Garden or we go to Domino's, tell the difference between what they're doing over in Italy and what we're doing here.
Well, I think for me, the one stop late in our tour of Italy this time was Naples. And if you're in Italy, they will tell you Naples is a city in Florida. It's Napoli there in Italy. And that's the birthplace of pizza. I had pizza 3 different ways. I had Neapolitan Naples pizza, the way they've done it for hundreds of years. That was great. I had regular pizza. I even had a fried pizza, which apparently should be something that fairs across the country should think about doing, because I thought I'd had every fried food imaginable, but now I've had fried pizza and it was pretty good. But I think over there, guys, it's all about the cheese. The cheese over there is fresh. It's amazing, and it's a big part of what makes all the food over there so special. The other thing that I didn't know, especially down on the Amalfi Coast, was how much lemons play. The lemons they have over there are huge. They grow them like softballs
Really?
over there, and they put them in drinks, they put them in desserts, food, you name it. Down on the Amalfi Coast, the drinks have limoncello. They're lemon drinks. The desserts are lemon. You can't get away from lemons down on the coast in southern Italy.
That's the way it should be, too.
Ned, before you go on with your thought, I want to get you caught up. A pizza is this like dough with cheese and tomato sauce and meats on it too.
I know what the hell the pizza is,
okay.
But I do want to know, what is a fried pizza and how does it differ?
So really the only difference, Ned, and when I ordered it, I didn't know. I just kind of took a blind stab on one of our last nights there. What they do is they bake up the pizza dough and then they fry the dough. So your base is fried. Then they put the cheese, the tomato sauce, all the toppings on there, and then bake it. So the dough is fried and then everything else is baked.
So is it kind of like a donut pizza?
You could say that to a certain extent, but it was that was a unique experience.
My gosh,
while I was there,
you combine two of the greatest inventions of all time, donuts and pizza, into one deal. That's got to be pretty good there. So
100%. They're not.
What kind of a diet do you have anyway?
Well, not that one anymore. But I used to live in that gluttony. Yeah, but. You missed out on Conference USA Media Days down in Dallas, correct? Were you still coming back at that point?
I was traveling back as Conference USA Football Media Day began. We will adjust whatever summer vacation we have next year and make sure we don't miss that again. But nobody wins a press conference like Casey Woods, right, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the ESPN segments. He and Jaron Askren and Jared Lloyd, they answered all the questions the right way. I think the only thing really hanging over his head coming out of Media Day is just going to be the question that he gets asked every day until the answer comes out, which is it Henry Beeland or Skylar Locklear? Who's the starting quarterback that's going to lead the Bears into College Station, Texas on September 5th?
And they don't know yet, right?
That's my understanding. The players will report back next week on August 4th. Practice will begin. Fall camp, if you will, begin on August 5th. And because they basically get 30 days to start working based on the way the NCAA has adjusted the schedule and the calendar, they start first day of practice 30 days out from their first game. So everything will get fired up on campus on August 5th.
We were talking, was that last week, about the Athletic that ranked the quarterbacks 1 through 138 at the Power 4 or at the FBS level, and they had Locklear as the starter. I think ranked 128 out of the 138, and I think their basis was they felt like with his OC coming with him here that might be the edge that the familiarity of the offense and the play calling with the OC, who was his coach out at UTEP. It's hard to argue that, isn't it, as being an edge?
It is. Mark Kalla was his offensive coordinator at UTEP. Mark Kalla is now the Bears offensive coordinator. Under Kalla, Locklear threw a little over 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns. He is a legit dual threat quarterback. He rushed for just under 400 yards, had 8 rushing touchdowns last year. As a matter of fact, 2 of those 8 rushing touchdowns, I'm sure you guys will remember, came against the Bears. The Bears got the better of them, but Locklear ran it in not once but twice against the Bears to make that game close. Henry Beeland, though, the transfer from Duke, I think it's a question of experience versus upside. Obviously, this guy was a bigger recruit coming out of high school, and what he did in the Gator Bowl for Duke against a good Ole Miss team throwing for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns got a lot of people's attention, and it's one of the reasons why Casey Woods, Mark Kalla, and this coaching staff were reaching out to him when he got into the portal. So I still think it's up for grabs. I know a lot of people have kind of honed in on Locklear because he's got more starts and because he knows Mark Collins' offense better. But remember, it's not going to be completely Coach Collins' offense. It's going to be his offense inside the framework of what Casey Woods wants to do. And that's an offensive coordinator working for a guy that a year ago was one of the top offensive coordinators in the country when he was at SMU with Rhett Lashley.
It's probably going to be a little bit like the Chiefs with Andy Reid, isn't it? That Andy Reid's the offensive guy and an offensive-minded guy, but he is the head coach, and there is an offensive coordinator, but Andy Reid's ideas are probably going to be what they usually put out there on the field, I would think. Same thing in this case, too. If Casey Woods wants this run, it's probably going to be run.
Yeah, but I think when you've got a relationship, and it's going to take a couple of games to grow that, but I think eventually you're going to get to a spot where Mark's going to be running exactly what Casey wants because they get that familiarity through practice, through the first couple of games of the season and get that opportunity. But I think the Bears are in a really good spot quarterback-wise, knowing that they've got both these guys that can duke it out. But at the same time, at some point in time, you've got to have a leader. And I think everybody knows that by default, the de facto leader of your offense is your quarterback. So the sooner they make that decision and make that announcement, the sooner that guy can kind of rally the troops around himself and start getting some sort of a leadership run going on that side of the ball.
They didn't do a preseason poll in name, but it's a Conference USA Bowl Confidence Index, which a panel of 20 members consisting of SID and media rep from each CUSA institution voted, and it's basically a preseason poll, is it not? But you look at it, and the Bears are picked 7th out of 10. It's Jax State, Liberty, Western Kentucky, Kennesaw, Delaware, Florida International, the Bears, and then New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee, and Sam Houston behind them. Your thoughts on that positioning? Is that about what you would have expected it to look like?
So I'm one of the 20 that gets a vote in that, but it's not what you would think, Scott. They don't ask us to rank the teams 1 through 10. All they ask for as a league is send us an email and give us a list of teams you think will get to 6 wins and be bowl eligible. So you can send them an email with 1 team, 2 teams, or you can send them a list with 10 teams if you think everybody's going to get to 6 wins, which I know is not realistic. But it's hard to say that because of the way they formulate this, it's not really a ranking in any way, shape, or form. It's a question of who do you think will get to 6 wins is all it comes down to.
Why do they do it that way?
To be different? I don't know. I mean, come on. You and Ned and I have been around a while. Ned knows every coach will tell you these preseason polls mean nothing. Yeah. They put no stock in it. So maybe Conference USA is actually listening to the coaches, unlike most leagues, and saying, all right, if the coaches don't like them and they don't think they hold any water, then why bother putting one out? I know what I would like to see. I would like to do a preseason ranking and preseason all-conference players week 3 of the non-conference schedule. That's what I would like to do. Let us see them. Let's make sure these guys are actually get out on the field and play as opposed to being projected to play. And then about week 3 with maybe a week left before you go into your conference schedule, then put out a list of preseason players and a ranking system. That's kind of where I fall in it.
Well, and with the portal era now, it's just so hard to figure out what that kid that was the third-string tackle at Michigan is going to be like at Kennesaw State. Yeah, I mean, you don't know if there's a reason they were the third string there or they just didn't get the opportunity. I don't know how you can base anything on the uncertainty that comes with the portal now.
Well, and the flip side is true as well, Scott.
Yeah.
Nobody thought Kennesaw State was going to win the league last year. They went in the portal. They got some dudes. They were much improved. Now, a lot of those guys have scattered to the 4 wins and wherever the biggest paycheck comes from. So, conventional wisdom goes, well, we're going to put Kennesaw State up here, right? They're the defending champs. But they lost a ton in the portal last year, and you don't know what they replaced it with. So, yeah, now more than ever, I think it's really difficult to handicap and prognosticate what you think a team is going to do after they have the turnover that they have, as these coaches have to keep recruiting new guys and recruiting their own players not to go in the portal and leave.
Of course, you will be doing all games, but if there's a new Bears fan came up to you and said, hey, you know what, I'm caught up in Bears football fever after last year, the bowl trip and FBS and CUSA, tell me 2 or 3 home games that I really need to get over there to plaster to see if I'm going to go get caught up in this.
Well, first and foremost, let's start with Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall.
Guys, I was on that trip last year. And I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I couldn't get over it. Most of my career, I came up covering high school sports. And you know those salty high school rivalry games where one team beats their rival and they shut the scoreboard off the moment the clock hits 000. Yeah. That's what Marshall did to the Bears when Jacob Clark led the Bears back and beat them in the closing minutes of that game. By the time it went 0-0, the video board was off, the lights were off, the scoreboard was off. They did not appreciate a upstart first-year FBS team coming in and damaging their 83% home winning percentage. So I think they're going to come in here. I think that's going to be a great game on CBS Sports Network. The Bears, hopefully by that point, will have kind of gotten their feet under them. They'll have played at College Station. They'll have hosted Lindenwood. But I can't wait for the Marshall game. That's going to be the second home game of the year. And then you've got to go back to what may have been the biggest win of the year last year, Liberty. There's a ton of high expectations around the Liberty program. They were supposed to be the bell cow for Conference USA, and Missouri State goes in there, beats them on their home field in come-from-behind fashion. That was, oh, by the way, Missouri State's 6th win to get them bowl eligible, a huge game. And now Liberty will come in to close out the regular season. You may want to try and ask a friend if they've got the luxury suite tickets for that game, because November 28th, it may be a little chilly, but those are two that I have circled because I'm excited to call those games and see those opponents here at Plaster as opposed to being on the road like we were last year.
Very good. Well, Corey, we always appreciate your time. Welcome back, and looking forward to doing this for the next million Tuesdays, I guess. We'll be talking football, baseball, basketball, whatever we got coming up. Thanks again.
Nope, we appreciate it, guys, and go Bears.
You bet. Thank you.
Corey Riggs visiting with us from Missouri State. Time out on the starting lineup and be right back. And this is the very brief stretch run of the first segment. What do we have coming up?
We're going to talk to Dan Ryder about Springfield Cardinals promotions coming up this week. They are back home with Wichita, 6-game set starting tonight. Looking through the calendar here, 7:05 first pitch tonight. It's a Silver Dollar City tonight. Silver Dollar City night tonight. It's hard to say. And we'll talk more with Dan about that. And then 8:30 T-Bear. Trenton Berry going to join us. Hopefully he got an alarm clock this week, and he will be on time with us. Otherwise, I threatened that we were going to put his 8-year-old son on in his place, and which actually might be okay.
I bet his son is just like Dad.
He is, exactly. And so, but with those are our guests in the second hour, and talking more sports and more. Art Haynes joining us here in about 4 minutes.
And we do want to advise you, folks, the lines are open at 447-1021. Area code, of course, is 417. But the 447-1021 number is both text and phone line. You can either talk to us or send us a text. Like to hear from you, your queries, your comments, and so forth. Are the Bears going to be a factor in Conference USA in football? I think they will be. I think it's going to be a pretty good football team, the initial game notwithstanding, but we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. We'll take our mid-show timeout here on the starting lineup and then return with more. Please stay right where you are.